in the grim theater of war. Some battles are remembered not for their strategic genius, but for their catastrophic failure. Today we're dissecting a textbook example of how not to conduct an offensive, a story of poor planning, terrible conditions, and immense human cost. This is the anatomy of a disaster. The stage was set for a major Russian push, designed to break through Ukrainian lines and achieve a decisive victory. On paper, the plan might have looked ambitious, even bold. It involved a multi-pronged assault, combining armored columns, infantry, and air support. The objective was clear: seize key territory and shatter enemy morale. But as the old saying goes, no plan survives contact with the enemy, and this one barely survived contact with reality. From the very beginning, red flags were waving. Intelligence reports were either ignored or misinterpreted. The leadership seemed to possess an almost delusional optimism, underestimating both the terrain's difficulty and the fierce resolve of the defenders. They were about to send their soldiers into a meat grinder, and it seems they either didn't know or didn't care. One of the first and most critical errors was the choice of timing and location. The assault was launched during the infamous Rasputitsa, the season when paved roads turn to mud and fields become impassable swamps. Armored vehicles, the steel backbone of the offensive, were immediately bogged down. Instead of a lightning-fast armored spearhead, the attack devolved into a slow, agonizing crawl, making the columns perfect targets. They were confined to predictable routes, funneling them directly into meticulously prepared kill zones. Imagine being a soldier in one of those vehicles. You're supposed to be part of an unstoppable force, but your tank is stuck in the mud. You're a sitting duck. Drones buzz overhead, an invisible enemy spotting your every move. The sense of dread must have been overwhelming. Artillery shells begin to rain down, not randomly, but with terrifying precision, guided by those drones. The air fills with the shriek of incoming fire and the concussive blasts of explosions. Chaos erupts. Vehicles are torn apart, and the offensive grinds to a halt before it ever truly began. This wasn't just bad luck. It was a systemic failure of command and control. Communication lines were a mess. Different units couldn't coordinate their actions. Infantry were supposed to support the tanks, but they were pinned down or lost in the confusion. Air support, promised as a decisive factor, was either absent or ineffective against well-hidden and mobile air defense systems. The entire operation became disjointed, a series of isolated, desperate fights instead of a cohesive assault. Eyewitness accounts and captured communications paint a grim picture. We hear of junior officers begging for permission to retreat, only to be ordered forward into certain doom by commanders far from the front lines. We see footage of soldiers abandoning their perfectly good equipment simply to escape the unfolding carnage. The morale, already fragile, completely shattered. This wasn't a battle anymore, it was a desperate scramble for survival. The defenders, on the other hand, executed their plan flawlessly. They had used the terrain to their advantage, creating a layered defense that absorbed the initial shock and then bled the attackers dry. Anti-tank guided missiles, pre-sighted artillery, and clever use of mines turned the battlefield into a death trap. They demonstrated tactical flexibility, adapting to the enemy's movements and exploiting every single mistake. It was a masterclass in defensive warfare, fought with courage and intelligence. The aftermath was staggering. The fields were littered with the smoking wrecks of tanks, armored personnel carriers, and other military hardware. The losses in personnel were equally devastating. For what? A few hundred meters of scorched earth? The strategic objectives were not only unmet, they were now further away than ever. The offensive didn't just fail, it backfired spectacularly, weakening the attacking force and emboldening the defenders. So, what are the key takeaways from this disaster? First, hubris is a killer. Overconfidence and a disregard for basic military principles lead to ruin. Second, logistics and understanding the environment are not boring details. They are the absolute foundation of any successful operation. Ignoring the mud season was an unforgivable blunder. Third, flexible command and empowered junior leaders are crucial. A rigid, top-down structure that punishes initiative and ignores feedback from the front is doomed to fail in the complexity of modern warfare. Finally, and most importantly, This story is a stark reminder of the human element. Each destroyed tank represents a crew, people with families and futures, sent into a flawed plan. The true cost of these failures is measured in lives lost and irrevocably changed. When commanders gamble with the lives of their soldiers based on poor planning and wishful thinking, the result is not just a tactical defeat, but a profound moral one. This failed offensive will be studied in military academies for years to come, a brutal lesson written in blood and steel. It shows that in war, technology and numbers are not enough. Strategy, intelligence, and a deep respect for the brutal realities of the battlefield are what separate victory from a senseless, catastrophic defeat. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis insightful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into military history and strategy. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.